In 1964, an amateur photographer named Joe Robert was walking along the beach in Sydney when he came across something that would change his life. It was a small bottle that washed up on the shore containing a note written by a young girl. The note read, "I am sending this bottle into the sea, hoping that someone will find it and answer me these questions." And then there were 5 questions written down, but 2 of them stuck out to Robbie. What is the silliest thing you have ever done? Have you ever been punished for doing something wrong? These 2 questions resonated with him so much that he actually wrote down his answers on a piece of paper, put it in the bottle, capped it off, and threw it back into the ocean. For Robbie, the silly thing he did was how he proposed to his wife. He took her to a restaurant, told her that he had something to say, and then asked her for a loan of $25 because he needed to buy a ring. She said yes, not knowing what he was actually doing. After dinner, he took her to the jewelry store and he revealed his plan. But she was still too angry at his lack of romanticism to actually go through with it, so he had to ask her again. The second time around, she said yes. As for the question about punishment, Robbie admitted that the worst punishment he ever received was being sent to bed without supper. He hated that more than any other punishment, and that was all well and good. The story doesn't really have anything to do with us until one day. A few years later, Robbie found another bottle on the beach. This one was a little different from the first one. The note inside it didn't have any questions. Instead, there were only 2 sentences written down. The silliest thing I have ever done was ask my sister to keep a secret that I hid her doll in the toilet when mother wanted to throw it out. My greatest punishment was when I was sent to bed without supper. Then there was a signature at the bottom. It was the name of the young girl who had written the original note. The same girl whose questions had inspired Robbie to write down his own answers. He couldn't believe it. Someone else had found the bottle and answered the questions. But why did they write their answers on a piece of paper, put it in a bottle, and then bury it in the sand? Instead of just throwing it back into the ocean like he did, he decided to find out. Robbie began searching the area where he thought he might have thrown the bottle back into the sea, but it was no use. He never found it. This experience left him puzzled for decades until finally, in 2016, he shared his story with the world in an article that went viral. That is, when he got an email from someone who said that she knew what happened to the bottle. Her name was Rhonda, and she explained that she was the young girl who had written the original note all those years ago. She confessed that after reading Robbie's article, she felt guilty about what she did. She owed him an apology. She explained that when she was a kid, she liked to pretend that she lived in a world just like the one described in the Swiss Family Robinson movie. In the film, a family shipwrecks on a desert island, and then they build themselves a treehouse. Young Rhonda loved that idea, so she used to play make-believe that she lived in a treehouse on a desert island. She also collected bottles and wrote notes to the people who would find them. But as she got older, she realized that no one was going to take the bait. Adults do, and believe in make-believe, and they certainly are, and going to spend their time hunting for buried treasure. So she gave up on the idea until she learned that her family was moving away from the beach house, and she was sad about it. In the moment, she felt overcome with emotion and impulsivity. She grabbed some paper, put it in a bottle, sealed it up tight, ran outside and threw it as far as she could into the ocean. She hoped that someday, somehow the bottle would reach someone who believed in make-believe, just like she did. But she never expected it to actually happen. She just wanted to get rid of the bottle before she left the beach house forever. As for why she buried the bottle instead of throwing it back into the ocean, she said it was because she was afraid that if her parents saw it, they would get suspicious and think that she was still playing make-believe. She knew that they would be disappointed in her, and she didn't want them to know that she was still pretending that she lived in a treehouse. Rhonda apologized to Robbie for stealing his thunder, but he was very happy to hear from her. He was glad to know the truth, and he understood why she did what she did. She was just a kid having fun. However, Robbie also had a confession of his own. He admitted that he was lying about being punished by being sent to bed without supper. He made that part up because he thought it would be a funny story, but the truth was, he was never punished growing up. His parents were too lenient. He had 3 sisters, and none of them were ever punished. They could do whatever they wanted. He also said that he wasn't actually proposing to his wife with the $25. That was just a cover for why he was asking her for the money. In reality, he was asking for a loan so that he could pay for some new tires for his car. All in all, he had quite a bit of explaining to do. He had to admit that he made up a lot of things about himself in order to try to impress the girl who was now a woman. Robbie said that he was just trying to sound interesting because he had no idea that anyone would ever read his answers. He thought that if he wrote down boring answers like "I'd never get in trouble," or "the silliest thing I've ever done is nothing," that the person who found the bottle would realize that he was just a silly guy who had nothing interesting to contribute to the world. So he tried to make his answers as entertaining as possible. But that raises an important question. Should we lie in order to impress strangers? Suppose someone finds your bottle on the beach one day. Would you want them to read down a list of lies about yourself? What if they believe those lies and base their perception of you on that false information? Well, here's the thing. The fact that you do and know the person who found your bottle means that it doesn't really matter whether you lie or tell the truth. You don't owe them the truth. They're a complete stranger. It's not like your reputation will be damaged if they share your lies with other people. Why would you feel bad about that? But there's also another side to this argument. If you tell the truth, then whoever finds your bottle gets to know the real you. They get to know the kind of person who thinks that getting in trouble at school is the worst thing that could ever happen. Maybe they would be inspired to be their true selves, too, if they knew that someone out there was willing to be vulnerable and honest with the world. It's an interesting dilemma, who knows? Maybe one day someone will find a bottle on the beach that contains your answers to those 5 questions. If that happens, what would you write down? Would you write down the truth? Or would you try to make up the most exciting and interesting story possible? Let us know in the comments below. We hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to stay tuned for more content. Thanks for watching.